Welcome to the Poultry Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Mulnix, and today's episode is a little different. There's no guest. It's just me. And to be honest, this is a little outside my comfort zone because I'm usually the one asking questions. But something happened this quarter that I just couldn't not talk about. I had some of the biggest leadership wins I've had in a long time. And most of them happened because I was willing to try something that not long ago I would have told you wasn't really for me. I used AI a lot, and it changed how I lead. Now, before you check out on me, I'm not a tech person. I'm not here to sell you on anything or give you a presentation about the future. I'm a leader in the agriculture industry. I am a leader in the agriculture industry just like you. What I want to do today is to tell you what actually happened, what it looked like from where I sit, and give you something practical you can walk away with. Because I think a lot of people listening right now are either curious or a little afraid, and they've tried it once and didn't know what to do with it. I was both of those people, and I want to give you a reason to try it again, or to try it for the first time. Real story, practical framework, zero fluff. Let's get into it. I want to start with a confession. I've been using AI for about 2 years, and for most of that time, I was using it the same way that most people use it. I was using it basically like Google. I asked it what to name the podcast. I had it help me build a logo. I looked things up when I didn't feel like Googling, and I really thought I was using AI. I really wasn't. I was using a fancy search engine with better manners. The last 6 months is when something really shifted, mostly the last quarter. And the difference between what I was doing before and what I'm doing now is the difference between picking up a hammer and actually knowing how to build something. The shift is what today is about. Not AI as a concept, not AI as some future trend, not AI from all the technical terms and rules. AI as something you can use today to do the things that you're really good at faster and better, and with a lot less of your time locked up in the stuff that doesn't need to be yours. Now, before I get into the story, I want to say something that might bother you, a few of you, and I say this with love. If you have told yourself, and I mean genuinely told yourself, I don't have time to figure out AI right now, I want to push back on that. We are never not busy. That's the job. What changed for me wasn't finding more time. What changed was deciding that figuring this out was the work, not something on top of the work. It was the work. And once I made the switch, here's what happened. I want to walk you through 4 things from this quarter, and I'm going to frame them in a way that I hope lands where you actually live, because I know most of you aren't sitting behind a desk all day. You're not sales. You're not in marketing. You're not in the things I deal with every day. You're managing crews. You're walking houses. You've got bird health on your mind and people counting on you to have answers. So here's what this actually looked like. The first win I had, the first one is the conversation you didn't know how to start. Think about that last time you had to deal with a performance issue. Somebody on your crew that you generally like, but the behavior is the problem, and you've been putting this conversation off, probably days, weeks. Most managers either wait too long or they walk in without a plan, and it goes really sideways. I used AI to think through a situation exactly like that this quarter. I told it what happened, the details, and what I was hoping for, and I asked it to help me through how the other person might receive it. And what was amazing, I walked in with clarity instead of anxiety. That's a huge win. The second one is that document that made you feel like a fraud. It's all happened to us. Every leader I know had that moment. Something lands on your desk. A written report for ownership, a formal correction action, a compliance document, and you stared at thinking, I am not the person who writes this. I have never done this before. I had that moment this month, and instead of staring at a blank page, I started with a conversation. I opened up my AI tool, and it says right in the chat box, how can I help you? I described what I needed, what I knew, and what the outcome had to accomplish. What came back was a starting point I could actually work from. I'm still the one who knows the operation. I just stepped I just stopped having to be the person who knows how to format a formal document from scratch. The chat went back and forth for a while where I just gave it more context that I forgot, and I didn't like what I was, and I didn't feel at it. What came back was a starting point I could actually work with. I'm still the one who knows the operation. I just stopped also having to be the person who knows how to format a document from scratch. The chat went back and forth for a while where I gave it more context that I forgot the first time, and the whole time, I didn't feel like I was bothering the AI tool, but I still found myself saying, after it provided me a draft that I wanted to change, sorry, I totally forgot about adding the part about needing legal review. And the AI tool wasn't frustrated or bothered by any of the change. It validated the change and fixed it with all the knowledge of AI from all the writings, records, research behind it. Way more powerful than I could have created myself. The third one is the one I want to spend the most time on because it surprised me the most. I built things this quarter that I had no formal training to build. And I'll be real with you. 3 months ago, I would have said those were not my lane. I would have either handed them off to a developer or turned in something I wasn't fully confident in, or probably just didn't do it. For me, it was a weekly reporting process I was doing by hand. For you, it might be flock records, production logs, the same numbers you write down every week and then have to move them somewhere else. Whatever the repetitive task is, the one that eats 30 minutes every Monday, that's where this door opens. Here's what it looked like for me. AI didn't give me a degree in any of these areas. What it did was walk alongside me. It explained concepts when I didn't understand them. There were words, terms, and step-by-step directions that I simply just didn't understand. I'd hit print screen, copy and paste what I was seeing back into the chat so it could explain to me exactly what I should be doing, when I needed to do it, where I needed to put things. It made changes for me as I asked it to. It was a partner in developing this product. It asked me questions. It told me when my thinking had gaps. I came out with work that held up. I built a Google Apps script that I can drag and drop my weekly reports and have it fill my Google Sheet, provide a graph of the data, and give me a list of what is the differences between this week and last week. I'm not a programmer, and I've never written a Google Apps script in my life. And now every Monday, when my reports are emailed, I don't enter the numbers by hand. I drag and drop the files. Another cool thing with it, because I know how important it is to trust the data, I asked my AI tool to make an audit report that shows the work it did and the validation rules to give me notice when a number is off by 5%. Nothing is more stressful than presenting the numbers to your team and having one of them ask, how do you know the numbers are right? Because they seem way off. Or, that doesn't make any sense. Explain it to me. Nothing is more stressful to me than that. And what really happened through this whole creating this Google Apps script was I came out with a lot less fear. And the next time something that lands on my desk, I'm excited to tackle it. The fourth thing is kind of crazy. It's really hard to measure, but it might be the most valuable. I'm an idea guy. I think of things all the time, but don't want to bother people with them. I don't know who to talk to most of the time because as a leader, I feel it's my job to not always be bringing problems to my boss or my team. It's my job to bring solutions, right? I look back at so many good ideas that just died because I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know how to explain them. And I really didn't know what the solution was. This last quarter, because I'm now integrating AI into so many more things, I had more ideas move from, I should probably do something about that, to actual finished work than any other quarter I can remember. And the reason is this simple. I stopped letting the blank page be the barrier. Don't start with an empty page. Start with a conversation. Let me say that again. Every idea got a conversation first. I chatted with my AI tool, and that conversation became a draft. That draft became a deliverable. Before I go any further, I want to address something directly because I've already heard this. And if you start using AI more seriously, you will hear it too. Someone on my team looked at work I'd produced this last quarter and said, "You didn't do it. AI did this." And I wanted to sit with that for a second because it's worth responding to. Michelangelo carved the statue of David, one of the greatest works of human art in the history of civilization. 14 feet of solid marble, widely considered the finest example of Renaissance sculptures ever created. And you know what Michelangelo used to make it? A chisel, a piece of metal, a tool. Nobody looks at the statue of David and says, the chisel made that. The vision was Michelangelo's. The judgment was Michelangelo's. The decision about how to cut away and what to leave, that was Michelangelo's. The chisel just closed the gap between what was in his head and what ended up in the marble. That is what AI is. It is the chisel. The strategy I brought to the work was mine. The knowledge of my industry, my customers, my team, mine. The judgment about what was right and what needed to change, mine. AI closed the gap between what I knew and what I was able to produce. So if someone tells you that AI did the work, and someone will, you have my full permission to tell them about the chisel. I want to speak directly to some of you for a minute because I know there are people listening right now who have one or more of these running in the back of their head. I don't have time to learn a new tool. I'm not a tech person. What if I use it wrong? And what if it gives me bad information? I had all of those, every single one of those in my head. So let me go through them on time. You don't need a training course. You don't need a tutorial. These tools are conversational. You type like you're talking to somebody. If you can send a text message, you can use AI. The barrier is genuinely lower than almost any other technology you've adapted in the last 10 years. On the issue of not being a tech person, I need you to hear this. You don't need a tech person. You won't be judged by anybody if you can't write a Google Apps script. You need to be willing to describe your problem out loud. And the good thing is, no one is going to interrupt you. AI is not a desk job tool. It's a thinking tool. And thinking is something every leader does, whether you're in the office or walk in the houses. All the tools I'm using have a mobile voice-to-text version, which means you can talk to it, probably faster than you can type. I'm getting it wrong. The mistakes are low stakes. I've sent the email that had the copy and paste this into the subject in the email. It's okay. Unlike almost every other decision you make in a day, experiment with AI costs you nothing but a few minutes. You cannot break anything. The worst outcome is a bad answer that you ignore. On bad information, yes, AI makes mistakes. So does Google, so do consultants, so does your boss, probably so does the smartest person you know, and so do I. The answer isn't blind trust, it's informed use. You verify the important stuff. You use your judgment. You still are the decision maker. AI is a thinking partner and useful for the first draft. So let's talk about the tools I actually use. I started with Gemini because it was already built into the tools I was already using every day. We have Google, Gemini made sense. And this was a perfectly valid place to start. And for you, if you don't have the Google Workspace, you can still get it for free. When I want to do more serious work, I moved to Claude. It's also free to start, no installation, no IT ticket, no budget conversation. But then there came a point when I realized the value was far greater than the $20 a month price. And I got a license, and that decision paid for itself on the very first day. I gained at least an hour back every Monday. Right now, if you want to get a tool, you could open your app store on your phone or in your browser right now, and you could start today, tonight, but try not to wait till tomorrow. Everything I described this quarter, all 4 of these wins came through one of 3 doors. I want to give you this framework because it took me a while to see it, and I think naming it makes it easier to know where to start. I call it the 3 doors. Door number 1 is the thinking door. Before your next hard conversation, difficult decision, or situation you're not sure how to handle, describe it to AI first. Tell it what happened, what you're worried about, what a good outcome looks like, and ask it what you might be missing. I call this talking to the whiteboard that talks back. You're not asking it to make the decision. You're asking it to help you think before you walk in the room. The performance conversation I told you about earlier? Yeah, thinking door. Walk in prepared instead of anxious. Door number 2 is the drafting door. Next time you have to write something, a report, a corrective action, an email to ownership, a message to your crew about a process change, don't open a blank document. Open a conversation. Tell AI what you need to say and who you're saying it to. Let it hand you the first draft. You're still the editor. You're still the one who knows the people and the situation best. But you never have to start from zero again. I haven't opened a blank document in months. I open conversations. Door number 3, the research door. The next time you have a question you don't want to ask out loud, the bird health, a medication label, an HR situation, something on the equipment you're just not sure about, ask AI first. It is available at 11 o'clock at night when something is going wrong in the house and you don't want to call the vet for something you feel like you should already know. No judgment, no hold music, just an answer you can actually work with. Now, I have to put disclaimers in there because you never want to put your birds' lives in danger. But man, when you ask it that question, it's probably reminding you of something you already know. As we look, there was 3 doors: thinking, drafting, and research. Pick one this week, not all 3. One real problem that's already on your plate. Walk through one door before next Monday. That's the whole ask. I want to be straight with you for a minute because I think you deserve that more than you deserve another feel-good segment. I'm too busy as a choice dressed up as circumstance. Every leader in the industry is busy. The ones who are learning AI aren't doing it because they have extra hours in the week. They're doing it because they decided not to wait until they do. We never have enough time. And here's what I want you to understand. You're not just missing a productivity tool. You're missing a thinking tool. The leader who thinks faster, plans better, and walks into hard situations more prepared, that compounds. It shows up in your crew, it shows up in your operation, and it shows up in every conversation with ownership. And then there's this. And this is the one that got me off the sideline more than anything else. I believe in servant leadership. I genuinely believe the role of a leader is to carry other people forward. Your crew, your operation, the people depending on you to make good calls. And I had to sit with this question. If there was a tool that makes me a better thinker, a better planner, and a better communicator, and I'm choosing not to learn it because it's unfamiliar or uncomfortable, who am I actually serving? That question changed something for me, and I hope it does for you as well. We started today talking about fear of unfamiliar tasks, fear of looking like you don't know what you're doing, fear of technology, fear that it belongs to somebody else, some tech company, some other generation, somebody with more time. Here's what I want to leave with you guys. The leaders who are using AI right now aren't fearless. They are just further along in deciding that fear isn't good enough reason to wait. Don't start with an empty page. Start with a conversation. This week, pick one door: thinking, drafting, or research. One real problem before next Monday that you'd like to tackle. And if someone questions whether the work is really yours, remember the chisel. The statue of David doesn't happen without Michelangelo. It just also doesn't happen without the right tool in his hand. The tools are free. The barrier's lower than you think. And the version of you on the other side is that real conversation of wondering, why did it take so long? All right, listeners, that's all I got for you today. No guest, no script, just something I had to share because I think it matters for where the industry is heading and where you're heading as a leader. I want to offer you this free gift. If you want to talk to a human about AI and you want to have someone walk you through it, please reach out to me. Call me at 616-265-0752, which is my personal cell phone number, or email me at bmulnix@prismcontrols.com. I am a human. How can I help you? If something landed with you today, share it. Share it with your farm manager, your production director, the person on your team you know is quietly wrestling with the same things you are. That's how this podcast grows. And more importantly, that's how we make sure that good information gets to people who need it. Resources for leaders in this industry are hard to find. This show is one of them. Before I go, I need to thank our sponsor, Prism Controls. And today it feels especially fitting because the whole conversation's been about using the right tools to lead better. That is exactly what Prism has been doing for farmers for 45 years. Environmental controls, egg flow, automation, fire mitigation systems, technology that lets you sleep at night knowing your flock is protected. They don't just build products, they build peace of mind. They sponsor this podcast because they believe the same thing I do, that growing better leaders makes this industry stronger. Check them out at prismcontrols.com. Reach out to the team. They generally want to hear from you. I'm Brandon Mulnix. Have a great day.